For 55 million years, the Amazon has defined South America. Spanning 9 countries and 2.7 million square miles, it remains a permanent global fixture. Within this system, 390 billion trees house 10% of all species on Earth and generate 20% of the planet's oxygen. Humans have destroyed nearly a fifth of this ancient landscape in just the last 50 years. The Amazon functions as an interconnected biological machine, and right now, that machine is failing. This shows total forest mass. The tipping point is 20 to 25% deforestation. Crossing it stops self-generated rainfall, spreading drought that threatens continent-wide agriculture. With deforestation at 17 to 20%, we are inside the window of total collapse. Once that threshold is fully breached, the forest collapses spontaneously and irreversibly. The breach began in the 1960s, driven by government policies that treated the forest as a frontier to be conquered. Infrastructure projects drove the first roads into the primary forest. These roads functioned as a mechanical catalyst for destruction. Cattle ranchers moved in first, clearing the land for pasture. Soy farmers followed to displace the ranchers, while industrial loggers moved deeper into the remaining canopy. By the year 2000, this sequence had erased an area larger than the entire country of France. A highly efficient, sequential industrial process is engineering the collapse of the Amazon. Between 2019 and 2022, the administration of President Jair Bolsonaro aggressively accelerated this extraction. His administration systematically dismantled environmental agencies, weakened legal protections, and encouraged farmers to clear land. The result was the worst deforestation spike in a generation. In 2019 alone, an area larger than Lebanon was wiped out. The massive fires of that year turned the mid-afternoon sky black over Sao Paulo, proving the Amazon's collapse directly impacts major population centers. Over 400 distinct indigenous tribes represent the final remaining barrier to total deforestation. Statistical records show consistently lower rates of forest loss inside demarcated indigenous lands compared to any surrounding areas. These communities maintain the forest because they possess millennial knowledge of fire behavior, canopy water movement, and medicinal ecosystems. Western science is only just beginning to map the complexity that these tribes have navigated for thousands of years. The death of an uncontacted elder permanently destroys irreplaceable scientific data required to keep the global ecosystem alive. In 2025, land conflicts escalated as 100,000 families awaiting land reform clashed with preservation efforts. Environmental defenders, lawyers, and indigenous leaders are being murdered for standing on the front line between the forest and the industry. These deaths are deliberate actions taken to eliminate the only people capable of enforcing the forest's survival. Stabilizing the global climate now depends entirely on the survival of these human shields, who prevent the irreversible collapse of the Amazon. In Part 2, we cover the cautious hope of 2025 and 2026, the wildfire crisis, and what is truly at stake for the entire planet. Stay with us. For 55 million years, the Amazon has endured. It survived the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs and withstood multiple ice ages. This diagram shows the Amazon's internal water cycle. Trees pull moisture from the soil and release vapor into the atmosphere. That vapor condenses into clouds, and those clouds drop rain right back onto the canopy, sustaining the very trees that created them. This self-sustaining loop depends on a critical density of trees. Below that threshold, the cycle breaks. Scientists call this a dieback event, a tipping point where the forest stops generating its own rain and begins to dry out permanently. Once that moisture cycle collapses, the destruction scales rapidly. An area the size of the United States could transform from a lush rainforest into a brittle woodland in mere decades. The Amazon functions as a massive, highly calibrated machine, one currently sitting on the verge of a sudden, irreversible mechanical failure. In 2025, data suggested that failure was being averted. Official reports showed that deforestation fell 11% over a 12-month period, reaching its lowest level in over a decade. This shift followed a change in Brazil's leadership in 2023. President Lula da Silva moved to restore environmental enforcement and strengthen protections for indigenous lands that had been rolled back under the previous administration. The states historically responsible for the most destruction drove the improvement. Land clearing in Pará dropped 52%, while Mato Grosso, the center of Brazil's soybean industry, saw a 38% reduction. Despite the political progress and the successful slowing of the chainsaws, the ecosystem continues to move toward a state of total collapse. Protecting the forest requires addressing two distinct threats: clear-cutting, where land is stripped bare for agriculture, and forest degradation, a subtle process that rots the forest from within. This diagram shows the impact of partial logging. Canopy removal lets sunlight pierce through, rapidly evaporating ground moisture. Remaining trees are surrounded by highly flammable fuel. A single spark can ignite the undergrowth, sweeping through hundreds of thousands of acres in days. Stopping the chainsaws is a critical first step, but it does not neutralize the ticking time bomb of a degraded, dried-out forest. The data from early 2026 confirmed this trend. Even as the rate of land clearing fell, fire outbreaks across the Amazon biome rose by a third. This surge was driven by an exceptional drought in 2024 and record global heat, which left large areas of the forest dry and volatile long after the logging had stopped. The scale of the loss reached 2.78 million hectares of primary forest, with 60% of that destruction caused primarily by fire rather than logging. Ecologist Stephen Porter points out that while reducing the area cut every year from the size of Connecticut to the size of Rhode Island is progress, the destination is still the same. Slowing the rate of destruction only delays the inevitable. The only sustainable goal for the Amazon is absolute zero loss. A dieback event would trigger a massive release of stored carbon, accelerating global warming to a degree that would be felt on every continent. Across South America, the failure of the rain engine would lead to persistent droughts and widespread crop failures, threatening the food supply of an entire continent. This diagram scales the potential impact of the next 5 years. Under the current pessimistic scenario, the Amazon could lose up to 23.7 million hectares, an area roughly the size of the United Kingdom. The Amazon functions as critical, load-bearing infrastructure for the entire planet, far exceeding its role as a regional forest. Human choices, rather than unstoppable natural forces, are driving the degradation of the Amazon. Those choices are made in supermarkets in London, New York, and Sydney. The survival of the forest is linked to the global demand for beef, soy, and palm oil, often bought without question of its origin. Standing against this industrial pressure are indigenous communities, the primary defenders of the forest's undiscovered biodiversity and its thousand-year-old history. Tonight, as a new species lives in a tree that has not yet been named, a chainsaw is starting up somewhere else in the dark. The Amazon has survived every planetary disaster for 55 million years. Whether it survives the next 50 depends entirely on what we decide it is worth.